Hello everyone, I would like to reiterate that I am pro-immigration. It would be stupid for me to be anti-immigration since I am an immigrant, and I told you this so many times. On the other hand, from a fairness standpoint, I am not okay with people skipping the line and not paying their fees like I did and other immigrants have done to either get their residency or citizenship status. In addition to the proper vetting process, which includes criminal background history, healthcare records, and financial status. Now, I am not saying that process is fast. What I am saying is if we were to go through those simple steps, it would save the country a lot of money, tragedies, and headaches. But instead, we have corrupt people like Nancy Pelosi worrying more about how we are supposed to call them instead of worrying about the issue at hand.
Now, you should have said undocumented, but it's not a big thing, okay? What's the big thing about it?
No, I actually wasn't even going to ask about that. I was just going to ask more about the moment. But you do think that he should have said undocumented? That wasn't going to be my question.
Well, we usually say undocumented. He said illegal.
Then we have Joe Biden, who is basically apologizing to an alleged American citizen killer.
It's the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented.
And that is our new reality. So immigration doesn't bother me. My problem is freeloaders, criminals, and those that make a mockery out of America. Needless to say, I received a couple of videos of this Colombian migrant who has no problem shaking it on social media, which, by the way, I have no issues with that whatsoever. To each their own. Although, let's be honest, at least she looks better than the other one. Furthermore, she's currently living in New York City. In fact, you might even see her on the streets of Times Square recording. That's right, she wants to be an influencer. Once again, to each their own. Per some of her videos, it seems as if she's not living in a shelter. She is working and paying her own rent. So I said, okay, well, at least some form of decency. I'll take anything right now. But then the $1 million question is, if she's working, paying her rent, and dancing on TikTok, how would I know she's a migrant? And that's why she made it to one of my videos. See, she went on TikTok and published a step-by-step process on how she crossed the border. I want to highlight something though. Do I think she is a future terrorist? No. Do I think she's a future thief? I don't think so. She seems pretty harmless, but that's not how this works. As you can imagine, her video went viral with tons of views and comments from other people that want to do the same thing. And that's the point of these videos. I'm not really going after the migrants. I'm going against the mainstream media's narrative that these individuals are escaping persecution in a dangerous environment. We know that is false. Not all are bad, but not all are good either. Hear me out. Her content is in Spanish, so when she posts a video talking about how to cross the border, you can only imagine who's watching. It won't be you, right? The English-speaking audience. It will most likely be other migrants like her that are here in the country and are just curious about other migrant stories, and prospect migrants that are outside of America and are looking to come in the same way. And if you don't believe me, all you gotta do is read the Spanish comments under her immigration videos. People here want to know how she did it, how much it cost, where to contact a coyote. I mean, it's all public now. It is a true shame that Americans right now have to watch channels like mine to be able to find out the truth. We know the mainstream media will never show you anything like this. And as I previously stated, she seems pretty harmless to me. But some of her audience that now may enter America thanks to her inspirational story may not be so harmless. It is a trend now to cross the border illegally, then go on TikTok to show your story in the hopes that you get a lot of views and likes and comments so that you may become a major influencer. There is no shame anymore, but it doesn't end there. She went as far as calling Border Patrol agents racist. Now imagine entering another country illegally, then going on social media to insult the officials that let you in their country and nothing happens to you. And that's only in America today. So yes, bikini migrant complaining. Let's get started. Okay, so let's get on with the translation here. By the way, she's speaking very fast. On top of her Colombian accent, my Spanish is not the greatest in the world, so please bear with me as I give you the main points of her story. So she says, story time of how I made it here in America at 19 years old. I'm going to tell you my experience. I am a migrant. I will share how everything started. I was having difficulties at work. College was very difficult. I was working in the day and studying at night. So an opportunity came by for me to come here. It was a loan of around 20 billion Colombian pesos. For the record, I did some research and I think she misspoke. I think she meant 20 million Colombian pesos based on Google. That equivalents to around $5,000. Therefore, that is more realistic. Here she states that she was able to get that loan towards the end of 2022. Then around September is when everything started. We had to purchase a tourist package or vacation package to go to Mexico. Remember, at the time, she was in Colombia. Well, then the moment came, the day came. We made it to the airport in Colombia. We were all nervous. We didn't know if we were going to lose the money or if we had to return to Colombia without anything. But life gave us the surprise to make it here in America. Finally, it was time to take the flight from Colombia to Mexico City. Okay, so thus far we know that she made it to Mexico via plane, and also she was not alone. She keeps saying we. Thus far she hasn't specified who was with her, but it was a group. Well, we made it to Mexico City and we stayed in a hotel. They offered us Mexican food, Mexican cocktails. It was a bit stressful eating in Mexico, she says. So that figures, right? She is sort of complaining that in Mexico, she had to eat Mexican food and drink Mexican drinks. But let's move on. Okay, so once we were in Mexico, it was time to talk about the coyote. This person tells us that we had to take a flight from Mexico City to Hermosillo. I'm not sure what Hermosillo is. It's probably another town or city, but she continues. So we bought the flight tickets, and then from that little town, we had to take a bus. So from the little town, we went to Baja California, which is in Tijuana. That was a whole process. Let me tell you what happened in that airport. She's referring to the airport in Hermosillo. So when we arrived at that airport, immigration was there and they were in high alert. So we were all like serious, and I was almost hiding. But my brother did have to stop by. Well, in reality, they stopped him, she says. This immigration officer asks my brother to step to the side, and he did the same thing for another group of people. There were some from Brazil and also from Colombia and other countries, but I don't remember. So that's very interesting. Now we know that a lot of other nationalities were traveling the same route that she was going through. Likewise, now we know she was with her brother. So she says, somehow I managed to go straight and bypass them, and I was hiding in a store, and I was very scared. I didn't know if they were going to deport my brother and if I was going to end up alone in Mexico or what. At the end, my brother tells me that they were asking him a lot of things. Some of the questions were very tricky. So remember, this is Mexican immigration. They would ask everyone if they were going to cross the border. They also told my brother that they could help him cross the border. They told my brother to please confess if that's what he wanted to do. She says, obviously, us Colombians are very smart. So my brother denied everything until the end. And the official wanted to extort these people by asking them for money. She says, since these individuals were foreigners, they took him to a corner outside of the airport. And that's where I was actually waiting for my brother to see what was going to happen. Once they made it to the corner, my brother gives me hand signals, telling me not to get close. And that's what I did. I bought an ice cream, and I was just sitting there waiting and looking at them to see what was going to happen with my brother, but it was a large group of people with immigration. At the end, the officer told them to stay there and not move. So he went back inside the airport. So the group of people were just waiting there, and they were not sure if they were going to be deported or they were going to be allowed to stay. Nobody knew anything. But as I told you, us Colombians are very smart. So my brother ran as fast as he could, and he grabbed me, and we took a taxi and we left. Once we were in the taxi cab, we asked them to take us to the nearest bus station, and that's where we bought the tickets to continue on the journey. And that next location was Baja California, which is in Tijuana. Once we made it to Tijuana, we arrived at the hotel that the coyote told us to go to. We were starving, so they gave us some pizza. But even that was not enough, she says. We were so hungry from the trip that we ended up going and purchasing some chicken at another restaurant. Then she says that it was very, very hot during that time of day. And unfortunately, she says that chicken came with a bowl of soup. But we were so hungry that we didn't care about the heat, so we ended up eating the whole thing. She continues, well, right after that, the coyote gets close to us and he charges what we were supposed to pay him at that part of the trip, which was around $450 per person. And he tells us that the following day, they were going to take us to the border. Thus far, we understand that they bought that vacation package to go to Mexico. Once in Mexico, they made contact with the coyote per what she is sharing. And then from there, they made it to the border. She continues, well, around midnight, they give us a call and they tell us that we had to go downstairs because it was time to start the journey to enter the United States. Yep, it was 4 vans back to back. And they were full of people from various nationalities. Once there, we realized that they were waiting for us and another family. But this family was a large group, she says. We entered the van and we were like, how do we even fit in here? I'm not kidding. It was around 20 people in one van. So we were all on top of each other. These vans take us to the border, and that's where they tell us to throw away non-essential things or to give it to them, the coyotes, because they claimed that it was going to be a little bit of a rough trip, so we didn't want to fall behind by holding a lot of luggage. She continues, well, obviously, these people probably wanted to steal from us and take advantage of the situation. They were very slick. They even told us that whatever Mexican money we had in our pockets was going to be worthless. Hence, it only made sense, according to the coyotes, to give them all of our Mexican money. And so she laughs about it. She says, but we didn't have any Mexican money left. And even if we did, we were not going to give it to them. But on the other hand, she says, there were some people there and families that did have a large sum of Mexican money. But I only saw one guy that hid his money, but the rest just were too silly and gave everything to the coyotes. So we made it to the border, and out of nowhere, the vans made a sudden stop. And the coyote said, get out now and start running. And he says, you all have to be behind me. So we were all running. That was so hilarious, she says, and she's laughing. She continues, it was like an avalanche. We were just on top of each other, running like crazy. And everybody was watching after their own loved ones. At that moment, I was very scared. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I just took everything very lightly, and I felt that this was the opportunity I was looking for to have a better life, and that yes, I was going to enter the United States. Indeed, I had no guarantees that this was the truth, but I was sure it was going to happen. And then we made it through the border. I am not sure how these people, she means the coyotes, were able to cut the border somehow, a section of it, but they did it. And they made us go under it. So we didn't have to cross any rivers or any jungles, nothing that was dangerous. The only thing is we had to run about 4 blocks to make it to the border, but in reality, we didn't really suffer. Once we made it through, it was around 3 a.m. in the morning. So then the coyotes told us that we had to stay there and wait for Border Patrol. And then we never saw them again. They were gone. We were alone. We had no further information. So we just stayed there. Everybody stayed there waiting. I would say it was around 45 minutes until Border Patrol arrived. And she says, that is right, Border Patrol from the United States of America. And she's so excited again to remember that she's smiling while she's telling us. You guys should have seen how nervous I was at the moment. And I did know a little bit of English, and I sort of understood some of the things that the official was saying to everybody, but he was very mad and he was very racist, to be honest with you. There you go. So Border Patrol agents are probably sick and tired of seeing individuals like this crossing illegally, not doing it the right way. And from her point of view, they're not doing anything wrong. Border Patrol is racist. But that makes sense, right? Makes perfect sense under Joe Biden's America. Similarly, it wasn't that long ago in the story where she shared how Mexican immigration was very rough and rude, yet she did not call them racist. Amazing. Simply amazing. She continues to complain. So she says, basically, they were telling us not to stay. They were asking us to go back to Mexico, and that we were going to waste our time because there was no entry into the United States. She says, as you can imagine, a lot of people felt depressed, self included. See, I was sure I was going to enter America, but at that point when the officials were saying that, I was starting to doubt myself. She continues, but regardless of that, we are very stubborn. And so we stayed there waiting and waiting. And it was a large group of us, so we gathered around in a circle and we just waited. There was nothing there, remember, it's the desert. Then Border Patrol left and we didn't see anybody until 30 minutes later. That's when we saw around 4 Border Patrol cars pull up. So wait a minute, she's saying that Border Patrol showed up there, yelled at them, told them to go back, and then they left. If this statement is true, then we have major national security issues. You tell me what can possibly stop a group of migrants that want to enter America and just disperse and walk into the country like nothing happened. I have heard about the encounters and the gotaways, but I've never heard of a case like this where Border Patrol supposedly shows up, yells at the migrants, tells them to go back, and then they disappear, leaving the migrants to do whatever they want to do, whether it's go back to Mexico or just keep on walking into the United States. Wow, the things I learned while watching these videos. Remember, this is from the source herself. I don't know, but let's continue. So she says, around 4 Border Patrol SUVs showed up and they told us to get undressed. And we were supposed to stay only with a t-shirt and pants, nothing else. She says we were also supposed to remove our shoelaces and piercings. But I'm very stubborn, she says. Even with the American Border Patrol, I did not listen to them. I did not remove my nose piercing or my belly button piercing. And she laughs. There you go. So breaking the rules already. Way to go. Nice example. She continues. I know that I was running the risk of them yelling at me, and my brother even told me, you want to be deported for not listening, but I didn't listen. Then another set of trucks showed up and they were asking who had children or who came with family or alone. And that's where they broke us apart and they separated us for a small period of time. She says, but eventually they did separate us. And I was like, no, I was telling the official, no, I was very nervous and scared. I kept telling him that this is my family, this is my brother. You know, I was trying to make him understand I was not alone. He asked me, is he your father? I said, no. Then he asked me for a lady, is she your mom? I said, no. So the official said, in that case, your case is completely different. She says, pretty much I was screwed. I had to resolve my situation because I was over 18 and I was saying, no, no, no. She says, well, anyway, I had to be alone and away from my family. And that's where they took me to the famous cooler. She says, you may be wondering, what is the cooler? Some people say it is horrible in there. Others say it's not that bad. Others say they may lock you up in there for months. While some people disagree on this, in my case, I was not locked up for months. To be honest with you, I was there for only 1 day. I did meet a Mexican woman who was there for around 6 months. And I felt really sad about that. She told us that her son was here in America and that this was her 3rd time trying to cross the border. But unfortunately, immigration always sent her back. Then she says, but the lady told us she was not going to give up until she reunited with her son, because that was her only family and she had nothing to lose. She continues, that story really touched my heart and it made me reflect and look at things from a different perspective while being in the cooler. Now let's talk about the food, she says. What can I tell you? And she's laughing. It was a piece of shit. I'm not kidding. That is exactly what she said. In fact, let's play it in Spanish.
Comida, pues qué les puedo decir, una mierda.
She says the food was basically a sandwich without any salt. Then she says, I am not expecting a buffet. And don't get me wrong, she says, I am not being ungrateful for the food they gave us because at least they fed us and they didn't let us go hungry. You know, that statement is pretty hilarious because it's like somebody telling you, with all due respect, you're an idiot, but don't be offended, please. Then she says, what I know is that I got lucky too. I'm not sure why, but they told us that they never gave this food, but there was this one time where they gave us pasta with tomato sauce and meatballs. Then she laughs and says, I was so happy to eat that delicious meal because in Mexico, I could not eat well at all. Then she says, after that, I was let go. Evidently, after being let go, I was not with my family, so I had no idea what to do. But immigration took me to a hotel, she says, that was located in Los Angeles, California. I was there for around 1 week, and I was fortunate enough to see my family by the second day because they took them to the same hotel I was staying at. She says they gave us meals, they gave us the hotel stay, the service was great, people treated us very nicely, there nobody was racist, people were amazing. She continues, for those migrants that were forced to throw their clothes away, well, here they got free clothing because people were making donations. In my case, I was lucky. Immigration did not throw away my luggage, so I kept all my outfits. Actually, she says, at the moment, I'm still wearing the same underwear that I had back in Colombia, and she laughs. At this point, she says, they told them that they had to buy their flight tickets to their final destination, which was their supposed sponsor. And here she claims that that was another problem, being that they had no money left. And the person that took the phone call as their sponsor was only that, just a person doing a favor, pretending to be a sponsor, but they were not going to take them in. This is very interesting because she's letting us know that immigration at some point asked her where she was going, if she had a sponsor. She lied about it. She said yes. And I guess she must have had someone here that took the call and said, yes, they are my family or friends and I'm the sponsor. And so immigration believed them and released them, even though, once again, she is telling us that was a fake sponsor. That person just took the phone call to say, yes, I am taking them in. But now we know that that person was not taking them in. Why is this important? Because it highlights the fact that the vetting process is a complete joke. Keep in mind that although she is over 18 years old, what would happen if she was an underage child? Is that how immigration does it? Is that how Border Patrol does it? Do they just call someone and say, is this your kid? Are you taking him or taking her? And they said, yes, that's my kid. All right, see you later. Goodbye. That is crazy. And nobody is talking about that. But let's continue. She continues. What ended up happening was we managed to gather that money and we bought the cheapest flights to New York City. That's correct, she says while smiling. New York City. I did not want to go to any other state but New York. I said New York, New York, New York, New York. Well, the day came and we got on the plane towards New York. The bad part is that we had to do multiple stops. Remember, the ticket was very cheap and we even took 2 buses to finally make it to New York. Then she's going over about how the airport of New York City really impressed her and she was very excited. But then once they finally made it there, they had one more problem. They had nowhere else to go or stay. Then she says, thanks God we were able to find someone that rented us a spot for a cheap price. She says it wasn't that cheap, but it was cheap by the standards around the city. Additionally, we made a commitment with this person that we were going to be responsible with the rent. But this person noticed that we had no money to buy food. So the person ended up loaning us some money, and with that money, we went to buy some food, and it was the most delicious meal I've ever had. After eating, we had to start looking for a job. We were living in Jamaica, Queens. So from there, we started looking around. Luckily, this world is very small, she says. Thanks God we were able to find some angels that were also from the same area. My family lived in Colombia, and these individuals gave us part-time shifts in a cleaning position, and so we were helping them in order to get some income. She says, thanks to them and the opportunity, we were able to buy food for the baby. Because we as grown-ups, we can eat rice with eggs, but a baby's diet, it's more of a delicate situation. So remember that earlier immigration asked her if a lady was her mother and she said no. I wonder if she also came with like a sister or a female cousin or something, because she mentioned a baby now. Now earlier, she never mentioned the baby at all, not for her or her brother. So I'm starting to think that she may have come here with a larger group, just FYI. She says, well, after having these part-time shifts, I ended up working in McDonald's, and she's laughing. To be honest with you, I had about 8 jobs already here in America. Then she says, if I'm not mistaken, I've been in this beautiful country for around 7 to 8 months. And yes, it is very beautiful, she says, but enslaving. And that was all she wrote, my friends. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, my issue with this one was not about living in a shelter or taking advantage of the system like our previous superstars have done. The problem I had with her was going on TikTok, promoting her story and making it seem like it was too easy to enter, which, let's be honest, it is too easy to enter right now, but at least have some decency. Don't go with the trend of disrespecting the American citizens and also disrespecting the immigrants that are waiting in line, going through the process the right way. Nevertheless, this video showed us that anyone who has issues with their college and work schedule in Colombia is able to make it through Border Patrol like nothing ever happened. But that's the asylum seeking process under Joe Biden for you. Don't forget to follow me on Rumble, X, Facebook, and Instagram. And yes, join my Discord server right now. You'll see more of her story, her videos and photos, and her TikTok profile as I am exposing what these individuals are posting on social media, because it's not only her, it's a lot more. But join my Discord now. The link is in the description of this video. And like always, thank you so much for your amazing support. I really appreciate it, guys. And obviously, don't forget to smash that like button. Share this video with at least one person. It helps the algorithm so that more Americans can watch all of these videos. Subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you think in the comment section below.